Hello everyone. Thank you for visiting my channel. I'm going to make this video. It's one of my first videos on my approach to beating online poker. So just giving a little background on myself. I've been playing online poker on and off since about 2003 as my main source of income from about 2004 until 2011 when the Black Friday incident happened with online poker. And that's when I got into the corporate world. At this point now, I'm actually truck driving and I've been doing that for about 3 years. Have not been playing nearly as much online poker as I had from about 2015 to 2020. It was a main part of my life as a second income to the corporate jobs I was working. So I have a lot of insight into playing online poker and beating it. Just want to give it a little details first. In my opinion, the most important skill in poker is having patience on understanding risk reward. I don't think I do anything spectacular. I do have a natural ability to just be patient and wait for good hands. And next point, understanding poker is a never ending game and you'll not be good overnight. So use the accessibility of online poker to practice the game. All right, so getting right into it, I'm gonna try not to be too long winded here with this. But first and foremost, learn the absolute basics. Study pre-flop hand charts and full ring games, and basic tournament theory. I started off as a limit hold'em player from about 2003 to 2006 before I switched into playing a lot of multi-table tournaments. And one thing about limit hold'em is you're going to learn what hands are profitable from each position. And I think that was able to translate really well in the tournaments, especially full ring tournaments. So you want to get really good at that. That's a big portion of beating low limit games with very unsophisticated players. Also, very important to study how to calculate basic pot odds and how to calculate equity for your drawing hands. Me personally, I don't. I'm not really good at math. I made flashcards and I just memorized the common draws and the pot odds I would need to proceed. So I basically knew that for example, a flush draw, if I had one odd, if I had 9 outs and if I had one card to come, I was about 18% equity to hit my draw. In that situation, I knew I would need better than about 4 to 1, so closer to 5 to 1, and I just kind of went from there. All right, and oh yeah, so I wanted to mention I made flashcards just to memorize those different situations. All right, so use your studying resources. Right now, there's a lot more out there to teach you how to play poker than I had when I first started. When I first started around 2003, a tad bit before the poker boom, all I really had was books that I can read and then talking to other players that were successful. So, I mean, you have all these resources right now. I haven't even got into, me personally, things like GTO solvers that I am eventually going to get into. I'm just now getting back into online poker after taking about almost 5 years off. All right, so books, YouTube's videos, all of that. And I do believe that playing the game is going to be your biggest learning tool. So you want to stick to about the 80-20 rule of playing to studying. All right, so this is my approach to building a bankroll online. And as I said, I am a truck driver now. I do have a decent amount of disposable income, but I am a very naturally conservative and cheap person. So even if I was starting today, I built my bankroll up on WSOP to a comfortable amount where I'm comfortable buying into about $50 tournaments and less. But if I was to start today, I would start with $100 to $200 tops. And my strategy is going all the way back to when I first built my bankroll on Ultimate Bet and Party Poker back in the early 2000s. Learn to beat low limit sit and go tournaments and low limit cash games. After doubling your money, withdraw your initial deposit and then play with house money. And after at that point, I've heard a lot of millionaires and people that made a lot of money say that their first million was always the hardest to make, and then there was a trickling effect after that helped them make money faster. So this is the same concept. You just want to make sure that you're able to double your money first before you start to play with a little bit more confidence, maybe moving up stakes. All right, another important thing, and this is not so much playing as it is just understanding the site, and the best time to play with the juiciest games. If you want to make good money playing poker tournaments, you got to play weeknights and weekends. That will usually have the most recreational players. I remember when I first started getting into multi-table tournaments and I was talking to a lot of multi-table grinders, and most of them told me that they were able to build their bankroll using like the $3 rebuy tournament, particularly on PokerStars, and then big $10 tournaments that usually get sometimes even up to like 20,000 people. But those are great tournaments to build your bankroll using a small buy-in. All right, so also satellite tournaments. My third bullet point down here, use small satellite tournaments to take calculated shots at juicy multi-table tournaments. Well, satellite tournaments, you really got to learn how to play sit and goes and get familiar with the sit and go structure, because satellite tournaments, even live poker, is going to have a good portion of these. If you ever want to get into a big tournament, even like a 1K buy-in, you're going to play a satellite tournament. Maybe that's like a $130 buy-in to try to win your way into that tournament. So you got to get good at understanding what hands are being profitable from where, as far as what to shove with when you get down to about less than 12 to 15 big blinds and you start to get into a push fold mode. These tournaments, in my opinion, have the most value, and they've helped me really build my bankroll over the years. All right, another point, don't throw away your money. If you register for a tournament, be mentally prepared to go the whole way. Now, this is something I've even talked about people that don't know a lot about poker. And I would just tell them a lot of times when I'm playing tournaments, there's going to be a lot of recreational players that just want to sit down, have some fun, play a tournament, but they're not really prepared to go the whole way. You know, I mean, you're talking about guys coming home after a long day working and just want to play for a couple hours and want to jump in a tournament, or a frat boy that's, you know, buys in at 7, now it's 9:30. He might even have a big stack, but he wants to go out and have some beers with his friends. Don't be that guy as much as you can avoid it. If you register for a tournament, you got to be mentally prepared to go the whole way and finish a tournament. All right, a couple of final tips and different points regarding online poker. Don't be afraid to change it up to beat monotony. You know, if you've been playing a lot of sit and go tournaments and you start to get burned out from those, switch over to cash games, or maybe even take some time off completely and just go back to studying. Or studying multi-table tournaments, studying something different. And also get lots of rest and balance poker with the rest of your life. You definitely don't want to burn out playing online poker. It can become really grinding and grueling. So make sure you balance yourself as much as possible. All right, so a few of my final tips and points regarding playing online. So I've mentioned that at a few points in my life, I was playing online poker around a 9-to-5 job. As a matter of fact, from about 2017 to mid-2019, I actually had 2 jobs and I was playing poker on the side. I'd have a laptop with me, and whenever I had a couple hours, like for example, if I left my corporate job and I went down to my part-time job, which was at a concert venue at that time, and I had a couple hours, I would hang out in the lobby and just play, usually 4 tabling, 100 max, no limit. So it helped me make a lot of money during that time, as far as like just stacking up money, paying off my car, things like that. I'd also recommend, if you can, set some really good goals for playing online poker. Be reasonable with your goals, but set goals. Have something that you're pushing yourself to. All right, so any profit I made during the week, I used to buy into juicier tournaments on the weekends. So I would do this a lot. This is another strategy. Even during the time I was playing 100 max no limit, I would take whatever. If I had a good week, I'd always buy into a Sunday tournament, like the Sunday $200 buy-in tournament on Global Poker, for example. But if I didn't have a good week, I would just work to just rebuild my bankroll. It really just depended. But I always took calculated shots at big tournaments. Don't be afraid to move down stakes. Very, very important. If you're playing 100 max no limit and you have a couple of bad weeks, take some time off, a few days, go back to doing some studying, or just move down limits. Very important. This game is going to get crazy. Make sure you humble yourself as much as you can. All right, next point. Recognize that online poker is much different than live. So a 1-2 no limit game live, for example, is going to be way softer than a 1-2 no limit game online. So get familiar with these different types of games and how you're going to play in an online cash game. You might play a little bit more loose aggressive, whereas in a live cash game that has a higher rake, for example, you might be playing more tight aggressive because you want to come in and not pay as much rake as possible and make the hands that you are playing worth it. All right, a couple more. It's more of a psychological thing, but don't overextend yourself financially. The beauty of online poker is you can play micro stakes games and learn the game before stepping into a game that you're not financially ready for. I think that that's very, very important. I have very few live tournaments on my record. I think maybe I played a couple of tournaments in 2018 and back in 2007 to 2009 when I was more of a tournament grinder. I played a bunch of tournaments, but I haven't played many big tournaments, and but I do have a lot of experience, especially in like low limit tournaments where I've made final tables, so I understand deep in tournaments the ICM implications and manipulating people on the bubble, things like that. So online poker is it's going to be a great resource to learn that real to get real practice playing deep in these tournaments so that you don't go into a live tournament and this is the first time you've ever went deep in a tournament and you're kind of freaking out and you don't know what to do. So make sure you utilize that as a resource. All right. And then my final tip is just duplicating your success. Make sure that you keep a spreadsheet. You're paying attention to what games are your strongest and you're building your bankroll and then you duplicate that success. Recognize if there's times when you're playing when you're not at your best, at your peak, and try to avoid that. My recommendation is never playing poker when you're drinking or just goofing off with friends. Make sure that if you play, you're focused and you know exactly what you're getting into. I know a lot of people that have just dumped money because they play in a game that they weren't taking serious. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. Even though I've played poker for a long time, I don't consider myself to be a gambler of any sort. I have a lot of friends that have lost a lot of money gambling and betting on sports and other things. So I would say to try to avoid that as much as possible. If you want to play online poker, make sure you play within your means. And there's still tons of room for success in online poker. So, all right. If you enjoyed this video and you have any questions about me or you want to see me do any other videos, I'm going to make a bunch of videos on poker odds, on sit and go strategy, multi-table tournaments, as well as streaming a lot of tournaments that I'm going to start doing. I'm really going to get back into the game and try to be more focused with poker. Feel free to comment and let me know anything about this video that you think I could improve on even. And just give me any feedback and let me know if there's any videos you'd like to see me do or if you'd like to see me stick to streaming some tournaments. That'd be great. All right, I appreciate you watching this video and have a great day.